Last month, I posted a video about Olympic figure skater Alysa Liu. Specifically, we talked about how she recently shared that her ADHD actually gives her a dopamine rush on the ice, and how she successfully uses her ADHD in figure skating. The video resonated with a lot of you, but as it reached outside of our core ADHD community, the comments section became an absolutely fascinating psychological case study. As I read through the feedback, a very clear pattern emerged. People really struggle to believe that a highly successful person can have ADHD. Today we're going to look at some of those comments with the names blacked out and answer the big question: why is society so hesitant to accept a gold medalist with a neurodivergent brain? Let's start here with the following two comments. More than one viewer called this, quote, another fake story, end quote. Then there were some more detailed comments like this one, quote, I seriously doubt she has ADHD. She certainly doesn't show any signs of it in her interviews or routines. My son was diagnosed with it, which is total BS. He's just a defiant teenager, end quote. Even though I directly quoted Alysa's recent ESPN interview where she said, quote, I have ADHD, end quote, the reaction from some was that it must be fake or that she doesn't have ADHD because she, quote, doesn't show any signs, end quote. Why does this happen? Because society's definition of ADHD is still stuck in the 1990s. When people hear ADHD, they picture a hyperactive 8-year-old boy bouncing off the walls of a classroom, like I did. They don't picture a disciplined Olympian or a teenager who might be struggling with executive function. But in adults, and especially in women, ADHD is often completely masked. This isn't just my opinion, it's a highly documented medical reality. In a recent 2023 systematic review published in the Journal of Attention Disorders titled Misdiagnosis, a systemic review of ADHD in adult women, researchers found exactly why these signs are so easily missed. The study states, quote, when girls display behaviors consistent with ADHD symptoms, impulsivity, hyperactivity, and disorganization, they are at a higher risk for social judgment for violations of feminine norms. To avoid social sanctions, many girls with ADHD exert considerable effort to mask symptoms of ADHD. That phrase is so important, it bears repeating. They exert considerable effort to mask symptoms just to avoid social judgment. Just because you don't see the struggle on television doesn't mean the neurological difference isn't there. Alysa is simply showing us what successful ADHD life adjustments actually look like behind the mask. Masking is a huge part of the ADHD world across the board in both women and men. Even I do it a lot, and I've done it my entire life just to fit in to a neurotypical world. So when a commenter says they don't look like they have ADHD, what they are really seeing is someone who is masking really well that day. Then we have the armchair experts. There were several, including this one. From bits and pieces of information I heard about ADHD, it might be due to childhood stress, like parent divorce. So I think it is a bit backward logic here regarding ADHD, since this is really a symptom of stress. It is a hurdle in my eyes. I actually really appreciate this comment because it brings up a massive conversation that's currently happening in psychology. It is true that severe childhood stress and trauma can cause symptoms that look like ADHD, like focus issues and executive dysfunction. It causes a ton of confusion. But the idea that ADHD is simply a stress response is false. And you don't have to take my word for it. In a 2023 systematic review, researchers established the medical baseline right out of the gate, defining ADHD strictly as a developmental disorder. And to understand exactly what that developmental disorder looks like, we have to look at the brain itself. In 2021, over 80 of the world's leading ADHD scientists from 27 different countries published a massive consensus statement specifically to combat these kind of internet myths. They reviewed decades of medical data and concluded that ADHD is a highly heritable neurodevelopmental condition. Studies show that people with ADHD have structural and functional brain anomalies, specifically linked to dysregulation within the brain's dopamine system. It's a physical genetic difference in how our brains are wired. It's not a temporary byproduct of stress, and it certainly isn't 21st century BS. When society tries to relabel ADHD as just stress or just bad parenting, it's often a defense mechanism. Acknowledging ADHD as a permanent neurological difference is uncomfortable for people who don't have it. But this commenter is right about one thing: it is a hurdle. And that's exactly why it is so impressive when an Olympian like Alysa figures out how to clear it. The next set of comments is where the psychology gets really fascinating. The first commenter states, right, it's like the person making this is doing equalization. The second commenter states he is trying to associate two unrelated things. In psychology, there is a term that's called equalization, which is projecting your traits onto someone highly successful in order to make yourself feel equal to them. Essentially, what these commenters are saying is that I'm making up this narrative, and I'm just projecting my ADHD onto an Olympian in order to make myself feel better. In fact, even after I replied with the literal link to ESPN where Alysa says her ADHD gives her a dopamine rush on the ice, someone replied to the link saying, quote, he is trying to associate two unrelated things, end quote. Notice the wording there. He is trying to associate them. They were so resistant to the idea that ADHD could fuel an Olympic gold medal that they completely ignored the fact that the athlete herself made the association. So why the massive pushback then? Because if an Olympic athlete has ADHD, it threatens everything people think they know about this disorder. In fact, researchers have studied why people react this way. In a major study on ADHD stigma, published in the medical journal PLOS One, researchers explained that the public has a massive, ingrained bias against this diagnosis. The study notes, public stigma represents the compliance of a larger community to negative attributes or active denial of characteristics. Respondents assumed that ADHD is caused by an incapacity of discipline and by a bad character, biasing people's ideas about ADHD to not exist in adulthood. That specific phrase bears repeating: active denial of characteristics. Because society has spent decades falsely labeling ADHD as an incapacity of discipline, which is just a fancy way of saying lack of willpower, it is hard for some to comprehend how a highly disciplined Olympian could have it. But the research shows that when women finally get their diagnosis, many don't use it as an excuse. They use it as fuel. Going back to that 2023 systematic review from the Journal of Attention Disorders, the researchers noted exactly what happens when these women finally understand their own brains. All participants explained that with diagnosis and treatment for ADHD, they were able to make more sense of their lives and more fully accept themselves. Their shame, anxiety, and depression lessened and was replaced with feelings of pride as they begin to view their disorder as a strength. And that's exactly what Alysa is doing. It means that neurodivergence isn't a limitation. It's simply a different operating system. But amidst all the pushback, skepticism, and misunderstandings, there was one comment that completely nailed the point of the video. A viewer named Erika wrote, "I'm sorry about all the crappy comments. This is a really good analysis. It's helped me to see some things I can change in my life, even though I am not sure I have ADHD." This right here, this is the mic drop. You don't need an ADHD diagnosis to benefit from these tools. Whether you're a neurodivergent or neurotypical, the brain hates rigid external control. But what does it crave? It craves freedom. In psychology, this is known as self-determination theory. It's the proven idea that human beings naturally thrive when they feel they have freedom and are actually in charge of their own choices and their own outcomes. Alysa won gold because she stopped letting other people write the instruction manual for her brain, and she built a team that supported her unique operating system. At the end of the day, ADHD management tools are just good tools that can help everyone. All right, my friends, I want to know, what are your brain hacks when the standard way fails? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.